Hi there. Welcome to Life Between Coasts, the podcast where we dive into our personal journeys connected through synchronicity. So grab your coffee, light a candle, and let's begin. I'm your host, Leah, and we're glad you're here. Welcome back to season number 2. It is an exciting season, and we have so much to cover. It is been a journey, as we've talked about, and we're rediscovering new things, and we're discovering more things about ourselves, and we're discovering more things about other humans, and that's a fabulous thing. So there's a few things that I wanted to talk to you about to open up our new season, and just talk about a little bit of where we left off on some things back in September. And so one of those things is about how we heal. And one of the things that I've been working on in this short period that we've been gone has been to write a book about coping, about how to be present, how to be part of life, how to be active, and how to just flow with life. I don't think that's something that has necessarily been taught to us very well on how to deal with these things. I talked about a lot of bad things in season 1, things that happened to me, from illness to loss of family. And those are big foundational things that are part of me, but they're not necessarily what defines me. And so I seek to listen to other stories, to hear how people have made it through. Life is tough. It really is. And if we can just for once come together and support each other, just to know that we're all in this game together. You know, that's the biggest thing is we're in this game together. So the book hopefully will be out next year. We're going to be heavily writing and probably rewriting and format, but it's going to be an easy read. It's going to tell you a little bit about what I went through in a very basic way. I'm not going to tell you my story again because I don't need to. I need to tell you how I made it through, what part, how I built my foundational system, how I go and retreat and pay attention to myself and listen to myself and listen to my body and when it tells me what I need. And how that it's okay to do that for yourself too. You don't have to give all of your energy away. You don't. And that's hard for people to understand sometimes. So that's where the heart and soul of this book will come from, is how to cope, how to get through life. And we're going to use the metaphor of a tree. And so I think just envision that little nugget right there. And just think of how we can use that as a symbol of ourselves to help us grow and become better humans. So becoming part of the better human society, that's what we think here. And that leads me to the next thing that I'd really, really like to talk to you about. I'd like to start a cult. It sounds crazy. And let's go back here. I'm going to grab my phone here so I can read the definition based on the Oxford Dictionary. And they say that a cult is either a relatively small group of people having beliefs or practices, especially relating to a religion, that are regarded by others as strange or sinister and as imposing excessive control over members. Well, that's not the cult that I want to start. The second definition of it is a person or thing that is popular or fashionable among a particular group or section of society. That's probably a little bit closer. And then the third portion is a system of religious veneration and devotion directed towards a particular figure or object. Well, I don't want to become John or whatever, relive Jonestown or Mr. Applebaum with Heaven's Gate. We don't need to be the center of attention, but what we do need to do, and it doesn't have to be religious, but it just has to bring us together. And so the cult will be of being human. And we don't need you to join us. We don't need you to subscribe for our channel or like what we do, but we just need you to stop and think about what it takes to be human. And if we can start to think that way and think that we've been through struggles and that we've been through different times or chapters or seasons of our lives, that if we grow with our people, our humans, that coming together as a cult and having the one thing in common, that we strive to be good, that we strive to be kind, and that we strive to just live our life in the present moment, that right there would be satisfying alone. We have so many good stories that are coming up this season. There's oh my goodness, there are so many good stories. I did meet my DNA cousin, as I indicated in the final episode of last season. It was a thrill to meet her, and we got to meet her little son too, who is just recently born. So we get to see a little baby as part of that. We've got to meet other avenues of ways that we've got to meet some strangers. One of the strangers, you just come across. Things happen for a reason. You end up in a place, you talk to somebody, you hand them a business card, they reach out and they say, I want to come and sit on your couch and tell you my story. And they do. And these stories that are coming through are just absolutely amazing. But they're so heartfelt, and there's always a key thread is that there's a time of transition, that there's a time that, there's reasoning why you do something or why you don't do something. So for instance, if you start something and something bad happens and then you start it again and it happens again, you don't want to continue down that path. But sometimes, you have to make a choice. Do I want to try it one more time or do I want to give up? They always say that third time's a charm. So maybe you should continue and try. There's so many other things we've talked to some industry, an industry professional, for instance, and that one might seem or come across a little bit more as an infomercial, but it's just because it's a very intriguing part of the business. So the business that I am in, as everyone knows, I do taxes, I do real estate, I'm human, and I do a podcast, right? So this gentleman, for instance, will we sit down and have a conversation? We're actually in one of the homes that they constructed, and it's a beautiful home, and it's a concept that's been around for a really, really long time, but it's not something that is necessarily a well-known thing to go to. So that'll be interesting to have that or for you to see that and hear that conversation. I reached out on comment sections to people, and I've had people respond for me from that. I said, I think you should be on my podcast. And it was the first time for some people to respond, first time to be on a podcast, to tell their story, to be vulnerable with me, and to have that opportunity to sit down to people that have gone through those transitions, who have faced those similar losses and have been able to overcome and continue and find out what their purpose is. That's the key to all of this, is us striving to become a better part of who we are, to become the best part of who we are, especially. And that part is so important, I think, to any life form that we have, right? So whether we're a parent or a husband or a wife or a sister or brother, or even just a coworker, we have this connection, again, that invisible thread between us, that we're human. And if we can just sit with one human and be thankful and grateful that we have other humans around us that we're able to talk to communicate with, to feel those same emotions with, that right there is a big key to, again, what the purpose of everything that we do here. I've talked a lot about the spiritual journeys that we go on, some of it religious. Right now, the spiritual journey that I'm on is figuring out why I feel the way that I feel and why I think that I should be the same that I was. And that as I write my book, helps to explain how we can no longer be what we were once we go through something as detrimental as an illness or a loss. And when we find ourselves in those periods of time, how can we transition to be a better person for ourselves? Because if we can take care of ourselves, little things, tell yourself you look beautiful. Tell yourself today is going to be a good day. Tell yourself nothing is going to affect the way I feel about me. And if you give yourself those positive affirmations, then nothing will affect you in the way that you can control, because you can't control anything else that's out there. So I've been working a lot and doing a lot of that spiritual growth, let's call it. And one of the things that I've been able to do is work with a woman in Perth, Australia. And she is actually an Akashic Records reader. And so this might be a little bit crazy and a little bit, what's the word? Alternative to going into a church, or alternative to going into, say, a therapist. And so what it does for me is it gives me the complete structure and the balance of what I need to know from the religious standpoint to how I function as a human to what the universe can do for me. And with this, I've been able to understand a lot more about the way or the person that I'm becoming, because I needed to shed those old ways. I needed to shed the 12-hour days, 7 days a week. I needed to make sure that I got appropriate sleep. I needed to listen to my body when it was tired. I needed to know when my feelings of overwhelm would cause me to transition into a rage, or how those emotional triggers affect me. So now if I can tell what's happening inside because of this, I know why it's happening. Maybe I'm overtired. Maybe I'm hungry. There is a legit thing to the hangry. So maybe those are the things that are affecting, and those are the triggers. And so if I can find that core and work on myself, then I can be a better human for you. I can be a better human for my mister. I can be a better human for my clients. And that's that. Again, see, these are all very important points on how we need to be better humans. So continuing back into some of the stories, there's going to be, oh my gosh, just so many people from different backgrounds coming in and sitting down. And we're so excited to have all of this happen for us this season. And we're so excited to share these voices with you. But the biggest thing is just making sure that we're connecting as a community. I call it a cult, but really at the end of the day, it's a community. I'm trying. I really want to save humanity. That's my goal at the end of the day. And it's a really lofty goal. But if I keep saying that, then maybe, just maybe, if I could just have a small dent in how we treat each other, especially going into the holiday season, I think that right there will speak volumes to the other humans that you come into contact with. Going back to the please and thank yous. That's always been a big thing for me. And it might not solve everything, but it will ease the situation that you're in. Please, may I have? Thank you for providing that to me. Thank you for your service. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for listening. Those are the simple things. Easy. They don't cost anything. Life is expensive too, right? We know this. And so if we can just take a moment and revisit the simple things, getting off of social media and comparing our lives to somebody else, getting off of being mean to somebody just to get a rise out of them. Why would you want to do that? Why behind an invisible screen? Why? If you can't say it to my face, don't put it in comments. I haven't had any negative comments, but I see so much that goes on. I've been much more involved in the social media side, but more so in just the perusing of social media and how mean people can be and how despicable people can be. And it's really unfortunate that we've brought ourselves to this place. And I think that if we can just, again, step forward from that darkness and make an active and a choice going forward and saying, hey, I am not going to be mean today. I am going to tell everybody that I see, have a nice day, even if it hurts me. Because you know what? If you're the bigger the person and that kindness kills, then again, going back to that, do it. Simple as that. My mom, just talking about some of the things that she would bring up, the lots and lots of stuff. She, in her short life, she had a lot of opinions. And I talked about with my cousin, Callie, when she was here, I talked about how strict she was. And she was really strict. But she had a purpose. She had her reasons for being strict. I think she wanted to control as much as she could. And not that she was trying to control me, but she wanted to make sure that I knew the choices between good and bad, right and wrong, and that I was making the positive choices that would influence my life. So again, all that bad crap can happen all day long, every day, all year, goes on for years, months. You can have a breakup. You can lose your job. You can lose your spouse. You can, have death or illness. Your account could be hacked, and you could lose your money. Luckily, with the FDIC, it is insured to a certain point, but still, it's the being human part. It's how you choose to work through it. It's how you choose to deal with it. And I think that we just need to make those positive choices. We need to be optimistic. One of the things that Kanika had brought to my attention, and she chuckles as she says it to me. She said, "You seek harmony. You seek harmony in everything that you see. You don't see differences, but you look for, how can I make this situation harmonious? Or harmonious, I should say. That's the proper word. How can I bring people together and have no conflict? How can I make sure everybody is happy and satisfied, so they intermingle and have a good time, and realize that no matter how far apart that they might be, whether it be in distance because of the landmass of our country, or in politics or political viewpoints, or because of a falling out or some other silly reason. But if we find that all of these divisions and these things that happen to us, if we can set all of that aside and go back to the basic, simple stuff, this is our time to be alive. This is our time to be present. This is our time to show how much we love our people. We love our family. We love our friends. We love our clients. We love being alive, period, right? So why can't we start to shift from that negative and join my cult of humans and be optimistic and be positive and be kind? Because the anomalies that we see on social media, where you see that the one video that had, the 3 million views because the guy was sitting on a sidewalk looking cold, and a woman who barely could afford to do anything brings him a coat and he hands her $1,000. We shouldn't have to be 3 million views on something like that saying, wow, that's an anomaly. That doesn't happen very often. That should be more of the regular. That should be the standard. We should be helping each other, but not take from one to pay for the other. We should just be helping each other because we want to. Simple as that. But paying it forward. That's all it is. Be human, be kind, pay it forward. If you have excess, offer to your neighbors. If you have, an opportunity to do something good for somebody else's life, take it. What's it going to hurt? If it costs you a little bit of money, you can always earn more. If it's free, like a please and thank you, use it. It's as simple. These are so simple practices. And I'm sure Alexis is tired of listening to me when I say all these things, because I repeat them over and over again. Because, I want to live in a world where you can look at somebody and smile, and they smile back and say, "How are you?" or "Hi." When you're within, 5 feet of somebody, or 3 feet of somebody, or even 10 feet. It's sad when you watch the news and you hear stories about some big box giant store that says to their people to instruct them that they have to say hello within a certain amount of feet to a customer, not duck and hide and go around the corner. That they have to start to offer help more readily, instead of people walking around a store looking for them. And so it's one of these things that these are, if you're going to be in a service industry, you want to be helpful. If you want to be human, you want to be good and human to your fellow humans, right? I mean, we're better to most of us are better to, I would say 90, well, what? I don't want to use percentages because I'll be wrong, but I would say most of us are better to our furry little products of our love, of course, our dogs, cats, and everything else, than we are sometimes to our regular, our human, sometimes the person that we live with, sometimes the neighbors, or the guy in front of us in the car that slams on their brakes and you almost rear end them and you say some expletives. Hey, you avoided an accident. Take a deep breath, move on. It's not going to ruin your day. Your car's not wrecked. But it just shows that you're following too closely, so maybe you should back off. Simple things. These are little things, These are the things that as humans, we should just not take for granted anymore. That we should be good people to each other. And I keep saying this over and over and again because I think it needs to be heard. And that's why I do this. That's why I'm here. So season number 2, episode number 1, technically episode 27, but episode number 1 of season 2, of course, here we are. And I'm thankful, and I'm grateful, and I'm excited, and I hope you are too. And I hope that you'll join us every week to hear the stories that inspire us, to hear the stories that connect us, and to continue to spread the word about what it is to be human. I'll post more information about the book in the upcoming episodes, and then we'll post more on the website, which of course you can always follow us at lifebetweencoasts.com. You can access on our YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok. It's hard to keep up with all of these too. I got to tell you, I'm not very good at this. I get really good on one and then I forget about the rest. So I'm trying to figure out the balance on all of this and figure out which ones work more effectively for us, and see how we can concentrate on that a little bit more to make sure that we get more messages out there, that we have better promotion out there for you about our episodes and how we're getting there. But, we've had Queso Tone, he provided us with some updated music. So we're working on that right now and getting that part of each of our stories. And we've found more people that we're developing further connections with. People that have sat down on the couch, again, that I would have never have come across in a normal day-to-day life. Different things that of interests and different areas that somebody might be in. That enthralls me. Alexis says she thinks it's better that I interview a complete stranger than somebody I know, because actually my brain works too hard when it's somebody that I know. So it's fun when somebody drops something on me and you get the instant authentic reaction because, hey, I didn't know. And so that's a good thing. That's a fun thing, because that's how we learn from each other and about each other. There's just so much fun to go through. And so using that social media, of course, I say stay off of it sometimes, but using that social media is how we've been able to find some of our other guests as well. Some unconventional ways, you'll hear from Nicole, and that'll be fun. You'll laugh at how we met. I think that's a good one. So it'll be quite interesting. So always maintain your personal health. That's very important to do. And like I said, just reach out to us. Go to our website, go to lifebetweencoasts.com, go to the Be on the Show, and just fill that out. Just tell us to come and sit down on the couch. I want to hear your story. And that's what is most important to me right now, is I want to give you a chance to share your voice, to tell what has affected you, to tell what you've been through to where you are today and what you've become, because that's the part, is what we become. We're going to transition a lot throughout our entire lives. I'm only in midlife, so I can tell you that I've transitioned, at least 4 or 5 times, maybe 6, that I've had different periods of time where I thought my life was falling apart. And I'm still here. You're still here. So let's do this together, and let's hear more voices. Let's bring more people together. And like I said, let's start the cult for humanity, and go from there and see what happens. So again, I'm so glad that you're back with us. We're so glad that we're back here with you, and looking forward to the next few episodes as we move forward. And if there's any comments, any questions, anything you want to know from us, again, feel free. Go to our website, lifebetweencoasts.com. Go to Instagram, Facebook, X, what is it? TikTok. I forget all the different social media accounts, or YouTube. Comment on our videos. Let us know what you want to hear. Let us know, hey, I can't say find somebody that has had this happen to them. But maybe that's something that we can do. Like I said, I peruse sometimes. I make a comment. I think you should be on the podcast, and we'll see what happens from there. So again, we look forward to this season. We look forward to you hearing the voices, and we hope that you enjoy it just the same. So thank you again for joining us on this week's episode of Life Between Coasts. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And we'd like to thank all of you again for joining us. And we hope you have a great week, a great holiday season. And until then, bye-bye.